Councilmember Marti Emerald heads District 9, covering communities from South Crest to College area. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
Well, first of all, tell me how you're doing health-wise. I know it's been more than a year since you announced your breast cancer. What's the update?
Everything is great.
Well, that's what we want to hear.
I just have some maintenance medication. My energy is back, got my focus, and I've got 1 year left on my council term, and we're making the most of it. We're very, very busy.
Yeah, 1 year left, very busy.
Exactly.
So let's first of all talk about infrastructure. Of
Yes.
course, a lot of people focused on road improvements, everything related to that. Now, Councilmember Mark Kersey proposed a ballot initiative next year. You voted against it. Why is that?
Well, he brought it to committee, and that
Yes.
was our first look at the numbers. And the way we normally work on council, we have an independent budget analyst who works for the council, poring over numbers and giving us essentially the so what. What impact will this have on our infrastructure deficit? What impact could it potentially have on services? We're finally in a place where we're growing services again, adding hours at the libraries and the rec centers and bringing on more police officers and investing more in our city services. And will that have an impact? So, and how much money are we talking about? Will it really have an impact on the current anticipated deficit for the next 5 years, which is about $1.7 billion. I wanted to get those questions answered. Mr. Kersey is kind of late to the game. He's got some deadline pressure. He wants to get it to full council right away so that he can get it over to the June ballot. I think it's important to take this time right now to analyze it, to understand it, and then when we have all the information, make an educated decision on whether we're going to endorse it or not. But this was our first look at it. Apparently, though, the Chamber of Commerce and the Taxpayers Association had gotten an early peek at it, and they came and testified about it. So I think it's really important that we just stop for a minute, get the full picture, and then come back and talk about whether or not we're going to endorse it.
Now, when it comes to infrastructure, what are your priorities for your district?
Well, I think everybody knows because I broadcast it everywhere I go. I don't miss an opportunity to talk about the need for fire stations. About 5 years ago, the city commissioned the Citygate report that everybody has heard about. And the Citygate organization, which is run by retired fire chiefs, experts in the field, found that San Diego, the city of San Diego, has 19 gaping holes in its public safety infrastructure. We need 19 fire stations to meet the needs of our growing city. Bottom line, in the last 30, 40 years, the city has grown, but our fire rescue department has not, and we need to get on that. So I'm pushing for a bond on the November ballot that would build those 19 fire stations. And that would be a general obligation bond. Average property owner who has a $500,000 property, it would cost them about $25 a year on their property taxes to build out these 19 fire stations that are so badly needed. 19,
is that realistically going to happen? I mean, we have the one in Mission
Yes.
Valley, that took a long time.
It did, because we didn't prioritize public safety. In fact, our recently retired fire chief, Javier Maynard, said that in the 35 years he was on the fire rescue department, he was hearing about the need to build that station. So when I came on board with the council, I started finding money wherever I could, and finally, after several years, we came up with the money we needed to build it. We can't afford to wait 35 years between fire stations. We absolutely have to make up for lost time. We've got to protect our neighborhoods, and the way to do it is to build these fire stations, get crews there so that we can respond within a safe and reasonable period of time.
Now, you also sit on the Public Safety Committee, and recently—
I chair it.
Yes, you do, yes. And recently there was a lot of discussion about the vehicle traffic stops in the city. The data has been released. Right now we're waiting for an analysis. A lot of community members, I was at that meeting, was accusing the council of hiding that analysis.
Yeah.
What is the latest on that?
Well, first of all, shame on them, because there is no conspiracy, there is no hiding, and I would like to have a public apology for everybody who's working hard to address this issue. There is no conspiracy. What happened was this last February, police chief gave us the raw numbers. We said, well, let's get a study going. She said she didn't have the money in her budget to do it. So our office went asking the mayor if we could get some money to do a study with researchers at San Diego State, and he agreed and allocated $50,000 for the study. We were told at the time there would be it would have 3 different stages, and there was an assumption that it would all be done by October, November. We were wrong. and we let the ACLU know a few days before our docketed meeting that, oops, there was a misunderstanding. That yes, the first phase, analyzing raw numbers, was finished, but there are 2 more phases that really explore in depth what those numbers mean and make it relevant. And the researchers said that it would not serve the public interest to be releasing an incomplete report. And that's what we told them. And we felt badly too, because we wanted to see the results. San Diego State is telling us it'll take until about June to get everything done. And that's what we announced. And that's just the facts. That's the way it is. We were all sort of disappointed that it wasn't happening and that there was a misunderstanding. So we're looking forward to June and the release of that report. And we'll also be getting updates from our police department about programs within the city that the police department is sponsoring to help educate people about the laws that our PD has to follow, about bias issues, and the training they receive on traffic stops and detaining people. So we're trying to be as transparent as we can. Unfortunately, some folks just couldn't accept that. I hope that they will learn to accept it, and that we will be releasing that report as soon as we get it, to let everybody know what it says, and then we can come together in the committee and have an educated conversation. No finger pointing, but what does this mean and what are we going to do about it? And that's what we want, is the what are we going to do? If there is a systemic issue, then let's address it and let's come up with a plan to fix it. If there are tweaks that we need, then let's tweak the system and make sure that everybody is treated fairly and evenly out there on the street by our police officers.
And I remember at the meeting, community member after community member kept saying to release the study, and you said you didn't have it.
Yeah, there is no study. It's research ongoing. There is no study.
Does that kind of go a little bit to the distrust between some members of the community and the police department and the city? Okay,
let me put on 2 hats. One as the public safety chair, but also one as a 30-year broadcast veteran. And the fact is that many organizations, many individuals are more interested in getting headlines and making a splash than actually getting at the truth or accepting facts the way they are. And I think that everybody who has been engaged needs to just come to that place where we're dealing with the facts and we're dealing with the reality of the situation, and don't go out there trying to make a splash at other people's expense. I mean, these poor researchers at San Diego State have gotten calls, and they're being hounded by some people out there in the community, and I'm not saying it's a particular organization, but and they keep repeating to us the importance of letting them do their study, letting them get it finished. And I'll tell you something, we're totally hands-off. There was a point where we were going to go sit down with them and find out, well, where are you and what do you need to do, just so we could have that conversation. We even backed off of that. We decided, nope, because it might be interpreted as applying pressure, and I don't even want the suggestion or appearance of a conflict. Let the researchers at San Diego State do their job, and then let's have a report, and let's respond to the findings of that report, and then make a plan going forward.
All right, and let's switch gears here now. Climate change plan.
Yes.
It's been going on for years.
Years and years and years.
The key components of that.
Well,
it's
pretty
comprehensive.
We're talking about really lightening our carbon footprint. We're talking about going green substantially by 2035. And San Diego is in a unique position to be able to just leave everybody else in the dust. We got sunshine. We need to be investing in solar. The city needs to adopt a policy that says anything we build is going to be solarized and green and all of that. And I think that we need to take a look at our building codes as well. So there are going to be a lot of elements to get us to that end result. And there'll be a lot of discussion between now and then. But I think it's huge that we should push ourselves and be aggressive in this effort. Otherwise, we're not going to make the progress we need. And the population is going to grow. There are going to be more cars on the road. There will be more manufacturing and industry and more elements that come together to produce greenhouse gases. We absolutely have to be as aggressive as we possibly can. That was part of the reason that I asked that the community choice aggregation be included in phase one of this. And people are saying, what's that? CCAs? Basically, it's creating our energy portfolio out of energy sources that are green, that produce fewer greenhouse gases than traditional oil, gas, coal-fired plants. And I believe that we need to be really focused on that, because that is a way that we can change the marketplace and send a message to utilities and companies that produce energy that we're going to be looking to contract with companies that produce energy from green sources. So if we can affect the marketplace and make demands that force manufacturers to get on board, all the better. It'll be easier for us to meet our goals, and it will be easier and hopefully less expensive for other municipalities and jurisdictions to get on board with demanding the industry change. It's been a long time. You know, there's a business plan that has served the purposes of the public and utilities for a very, very long time. I think the paradigm is changing, and we need to force that just a little, nudge it along to be successful in this effort to clean up our environment.
Big goals. Huge
goal, lifetime goal. This is really a paradigm shift. That we have to begin thinking green. We have to reduce greenhouse gases. We're already seeing the signs of climate change, and we have an obligation to do everything we can to reduce greenhouse gases and help extend the life of our precious planet.
And lastly, any future projects within your district that you want people in your district to know about?
Well, we've got all kinds of things going. This next year, I just want to give you a little peek,
we like those little things.
Since it's so close to the end of the year, we recognize the divisions between and among people of different races, ethnicities, religions. And we live in such a diverse community where people from all the trouble spots of the world come to San Diego, and particularly to the 9th District, City Heights, and these neighborhoods. I think it's time that we take a stand and work together this next year to make sure everybody is included. So our office is pushing a movement to make 2016 the year of inclusion, and to make sure that our policies reflect that everybody is part of this community family. Everybody needs to be at the table making decisions, and that we need to look at our policies and make sure that they are fair to everybody. So in fact, Ralph DeMericut from my staff is coordinating this with nonprofits and other entities here in the San Diego region. And so in January we'll present a proclamation and some ideas about how we can extend this policy into the community and help make a difference. So that's a big one for us. And then of course pushing for our firehouse bond. We'll be really, really busy this next year to get that going and working within the community. And I want to tell you, we've had 13 big presentations to major planning groups in the city, and those planning groups are saying, please, yes, get working on it. Whether it's this general obligation bond or another financing method, we need those fire stations. And that's basically my last campaign before I retire from city council. And
a lot going on for your last year.
And you know, it's all exciting and it's all positive, and it's just a privilege to be able to be in a position to do this and to work with the community to create that kind of positive change that I know all of us want.
All right, well, thank you so much for being
here.
You got a lot going on.
Yeah,
all right.
You betcha, sweetie.
I'm Melissa Mecija with 10 News. I'll be back next week.